I'm going to be creating some patchwork elements today for my junk journal for the No Sew November prompt of patchwork parts, and I think I'm enjoying the process of not always working directly into the pages that I have in this journal and sort of doing things outside of it and then bringing them into it, and just enjoying the process of seeing where I can add different things and almost not like committing straight away to working on a page. So when I was thinking about patchwork parts, it got me thinking about the faux washi strips that I've created that originally it was Rachel from Roxy's Creations who I saw this idea from, and I've since created them on tracing paper, on tissue paper. I've got a few videos on my channel that I'll leave linked down below if you want to see different versions, and of course I'll link Rachel's original video as well. So what I've decided to do is to work on this piece of vellum here in a masterboard style, and then I will trim it up. So normally I do cut them into strips first and then work on them, but I just thought for the whole patchwork vibe, let's commit to just adding some things across the whole of the sheet and then we will cut it up. So because my journal is obviously on the smaller side, I'm just working on a small piece here. Normally when you do a masterboard, obviously it's a lot bigger than this, but I'm just scaling it down for this journal because I don't want too much to get lost. Like, I feel like we're at a point now where I need to start thinking a little bit about more of the details rather than some of the background layers that I've got going on. So I just thought it would be a fun way to work on this by doing the masterboard, and then I can add it to the journal pages and see where it fits best. And also because it's vellum, I'll have that translucency as well. So I have some collage papers. I also have a few like scrapbooky style pieces as well, because I thought that these would be some really nice colours, especially to go with the patchwork style as well. So to have some patterns. I've also got a few like washi stickers, because I thought I could cut some of the sections out, not necessarily use the whole thing, but of course because these are a little bit more translucent, they would work quite well on the vellum. So I've got a few of those that I thought would be nice for some layering. And then I've also pulled out like some stamps and some ink, which is always really fun to use on these. And I'm realizing as I'm taking stock that I don't have my white pen, which is obviously a staple for something like this. So there's my white pen. I actually haven't used this in a while, and just in case you're curious, this is a Uniball Signo. You can get these in like thinner tips like this and also in broader nibs as well, and this is the only white pen that I use because I find it's the best in terms of opaqueness, and just works really well for what I use it for in my journals for details. So this will really pop against the sort of all the translucent effects that we've got going on. And something else I thought might be interesting, especially because this is a patchwork prompt, is I've got a square punch here, and I figured I could do a little bit of a mix between having some torn edges from these collage papers, and then also maybe I could punch out some of these sections to make the more traditional like patchworking that you would do like with a quilt or something like that. So I just thought I could punch out a few of these sections, and then I'll be able to use them within the piece itself and sort of spread them out throughout. And they are quite small, but when you compare it to the size of the journal itself, it's obviously not going to take over everything as much. So we've got a few of those. So I think I'm going to start with just having a few different collage elements onto this. And now obviously because it is vellum, I don't want to cover the entire surface, but I'm just going to add some collage in a few different areas to have a bit of a background, and then I think it will really start to shine when it comes to adding like the stamping and the more translucent areas of the washi tape and the washi stickers as well. And of course I'm not worrying too much about the composition itself, because I will end up, you know, trimming this down. So I think I'm going to add a few more plain pieces, but again I don't want to overwhelm it, especially because I know I'm going to be coming in with some other parts as well, so maybe let's add some of this for some tea dyeing. Okay, so I think that's enough of some of those base layers. Now I'm going to add some of the smaller little patchwork parts, little square bits that I've got here, and I think this will be nice for a bit of contrast, and we'll also add in some colour, especially with these little blue bits that I've got. And I'm just going to overlap these on certain sections to create that sort of patchwork effect. And I quite like these because they are still adding some colour, but they are a lot more subtle in how they're doing it, I think. And again, I'm being careful not to completely cover the whole surface because I still want that translucent effect, especially when there's going to be some stamping and other layers. And I'm sort of staggering them as well to mimic that patchwork sort of look to the piece. Okay, so I think that's enough of the little squares of the scrapbook paper, and what I'm thinking is whether I could add some of these stickers and punch them as well, but I don't know how well they'll go through the square punch. So I'm just going to pick out a few of these. I'm mainly looking at the text elements just so that I can have some of that interest, and it's ones that I probably wouldn't want to use as an actual sticker, as nice as that little owl is. Like, I much prefer the floral ones of these, but obviously when you buy them in a pack like this you have to buy all of them, so I'm just going to pick out a few that might have some interesting areas on them and then see if I can run them through the punch, and if not I can always just cut them out as well. Turn it upside down so I can actually see what I'm doing this time, and I might try and off center it as well just so that I get some of that like post stamp effect as well. So like this, if that's going to show up where you can still see the edge of it. So that's worked pretty well, so let me do a few of these. I've punched out quite a few there, but I'm probably not going to use all of them. Let's just see how it goes. So like I said, because these are more of like a washi type paper, they should be a little bit more translucent. So I think they'll work well on the vellum. So we can still see through a little bit to what's underneath. So I'm just going to add a few of these, and I didn't punch them all in perfect squares as well, so I'm hoping there will be a little bit of variety in these as well. So there's how it's looking with the layer of washies. Now I'm going to add a little bit of stamping. So I've got my cherry blossom stamp here. This is one of my favorites. It is by Cat's Life Press, and I'm just going to use my trusty Memento ink here in Espresso Truffle, because it's a brown, so there's not like a stark black, which I think works well with the colour palette that I've got going on here. And I'm going to just pop something underneath so I can also do some stamping off the edge. So I'm not going to do too many of these, but obviously bear in mind we will be cutting this up, so even though it's kind of looking a little bit busy, we're only going to see certain sections of each on this. And I'm still thinking about whether I want to cut this in that way or in that way. I'm not sure yet. So let's just add the stamping and then see where we go from there. So it's quite subtle as well, but I'm trying to focus on the parts where I have the vellum as well, so it's kind of bridging that gap. So that is my stamping now that it is dry. So I've only added it on a few sections, like I didn't cover the entirety of this, but I've added it in different directions as well, so that when we chop this up you see different parts, and I've tried to overlap it onto different sections as well so that you kind of see it here on the paper, but then you also see it on the vellum. So I think the final thing to do here is just to add some detailing with a white pen, and I'm just going to add some little dots in certain places just to give it a bit of a pop. I might even add some like faux stitches just in certain areas to bring through that patchwork feel to this. So just some lines across some of the little squares there. Nothing too, like, I don't want to go for it around every single element there, but just a few, or maybe like some crisscrosses as well. I'm kind of tempted to add a little bit of colour as well, so maybe I'll use a this is a Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil in the shade Apricot. So it's a very similar colour to one of the Neo colours that I like to use, but I just figured this in very small doses just might add a nice pop of colour. Ooh, I love the way that it pops on the green of the ticket there. Try not to get too carried away with that, but I really love, I think because I like the way it's picking up with the blue as well. So this is looking a little busy, but of course, like I said, this is going to be trimmed, so I could either trim it into long strips, kind of tempted to do it into short strips this way. I think that way might look best because I've kind of worked everything that way, so if I go across I'll get, I think, a nice distribution between them. So I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer. Here are the finished little patchwork strips that I have ready to use within my journal pages. So I just trimmed them and made 7 different ones, so obviously you can see different parts of the collage that shows in different ones. So some of them are busier than other ones, but I just really love the way that you get that cross section of different elements, and then I'll be able to use these then within the pages of this journal. So yeah, some of them have more paper on them as well, like this one, whereas ones like this are a little bit more sparse and you get sort of different parts of each different one. So I really love the way these look, and I think the colours came together quite nicely as well because they are colourful but they are still quite subdued. So now I need to find somewhere to add them to the journal pages, and I'm kind of hoping that I can keep some of them fairly intact. I don't really want to cut some of them up because I really like them. So let's see if we can add some of them. So I think some of my favourite ones from this are, let's go with these ones, and let's just see where these might make sense. I've gone ahead and added the little torn out pieces of those patchwork strips to most of the pages where I felt like they would fit the best, and so I've just added sections across little corners and in bits that overlap just to start adding some of those details. And I think I've managed to fix this page as well, which I know I mentioned in a previous video was really bothering me, so I've basically just covered it up. So obviously you can still see the patchwork happening there, but I just felt like it was too much on the front, so I've covered that up and I'm a lot happier with that now, because that will probably end up being like some writing or something. And then I've sort of managed to get a little bit of a composition going here in terms of where the focal point is going to be for this page. I also added one of the longer strips under here, so apart from a few little sections here, I've basically used every single little piece of that, and it's just really nice to spread something like this throughout different pages and get a little bit of cohesiveness and pull forward some of those patchwork elements as well across different pages. I really love the way that it's starting to look on this section here, especially because this was a sort of combination of different prompts, like adding things as I was going. So obviously it was the tip in, and then it was adding the words and different collage pieces, and now I've started to add some more colour to this, so I'm really loving the way that this is turning out as well. That's added some nice details to the background of this journal. So thank you as always for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.